Cosmic Shakti, baby!
To purchase t-shirts and merchandise with my art on it, just click on the eye on the top right hand side of the screen and it will take you right to my shop. So today I'm going to do some shoulders, legs, and triceps, and I'm going to be doing some high bar squats, so you'll notice that my depth is a little lower than usual, and the reason why is because I like changing it up, you know, so I'm not saying that you have to train some way, you know, one way all the time. It's, you know, if anything, I'm saying the opposite. It's always changing things up and finding what works for you, and this needs to be tweaked as you go along, right? So anyway, I'm doing the high bar squat. I do love the low bar squat, but at the same time, it does change the emphasis of where the stress is. Okay, so when you high bar squat, you will notice your quadriceps get hit a little bit more. Your bum gets hit a little bit more with high bar. For me, anyway, you know, again, this depends on your dimensions and depends on how you're built. But the fact is that there are certain ranges of motion, depending on where you put the bar, will change. You know, it'll change your range of motion, and will also change where the stress is, depending on whether you're bent over, whether you're more straight up and down, you know, that kind of thing. That's why there's front bar squats, you know, high bar squat, low bar squat, right? Changes the emphasis. So today I'm basically just focusing on high bar squat and focusing on getting my depth down a little lower, you know. And the fact is that I don't want to get any lower as far as by widening my stance. So I have a medium stance, but if I go wider, I can go down lower. But the thing is, I find that doesn't feel quite right. You know, the hamstrings are tight, or the hamstrings start pulling on the hips and things, and I don't want to increase the wear and tear on the hips. That's really not my primary goal when it comes to training. And I know some guys that have been deep squatting for a long time and their hips are just a mess, right? The other thing is that a lot of people don't understand the mechanics and the science behind bodybuilding. You know, a lot of times on the internet, people are mixing up bodybuilding with powerlifting, mixing up bodybuilding with Olympic lifting, and they'll say, oh, you're squatting this way. That's horrible for Olympic lifting. And I had one idiot talk like this to me. Well, the thing is, I'm not Olympic lifting. You know, I'm not looking to Olympic lift, and that's not exactly my goal. And the fact is that I'm looking to put on muscle mass in the safest, happiest way that I can and what feels right for my body. And I expect everybody else also to do the same, you know? So the thing is that when I'm coming down, you know, and this is a great way to find your range of motion that's right for you. And I'm not saying that this can't increase or can't decrease. You know, it depends on whether you have injuries or whether you're stretching the joints or whether things are in balance. You know, sometimes you might have a labral tear in your hip and that's affecting your stuff going on. You know, that might affect your range of motion. So bear this in mind. You know, these things are all being paid attention to if you listen to your body. But if you just listen to some idiot on the internet that says, hey, do it this way no matter what, and yet you've got something else going on in your body that they don't know about, well, you know, that's when you snap things. That's when things go wrong, okay? So my method works the best in this way. I say, listen to your body, find out what works for you right now in this moment. Maybe next week it'll change. Maybe the week after that will change. You work on your weak links as much as you can. You work on, you know, becoming flexible. You work on, you know, stretching the muscle as much as you can so that way the joint takes less stress, you know. But the fact is that you also are constantly paying attention whether you're stretching the muscle or you're stretching the joint. Right? So when I come down in the squat, you know, one thing that made my legs big when I was bodybuilding for, you know, natural bodybuilding competitions was that when I squatted, I would lower the weight until I felt the stress transfer from the legs to the back. I was very aware, very in tune, and this is probably from 10 years of martial arts, and, you know, I was doing a lot of katas and a lot of different types of things, and the fact is that I was very aware once the stress switched from the legs to the back. And then the back started to become the weak link in the exercise. I would be hitting failure in my lower back as far as muscular fatigue faster than my legs. Well, at that point, I knew I wasn't actually making my leg mass grow. I was actually, you know, increasing the strength of my lower back. It wasn't actually causing me to have more leg mass gains. So you can go back and forth in the way you perform the exercise, but just know that if your back is giving out long before your legs do, your legs are not getting as much work. Okay, so that's why the one-legged squats and stuff are great. You know, walking lunges, leg presses, because they start to take the lower back out of the movement, and then you can hit absolute muscular fatigue in the muscles you want to grow. Okay, but another way of doing this is to have a shallower depth. Okay, a shallower range of motion on the squat, so that way your lower back is not the weak link. Okay, and that range of motion will depend on the person. So I'm saying you do shallow ranges and you do deeper ranges. You do both. You incorporate all of it in your training, but just know whatever is the weak link is what will adapt. Okay, so here I'm doing some lateral raises, and for those of you that don't know, I have a right shoulder injury. you know, from hockey. Okay, that's why that right shoulder doesn't come up as far. Okay, but that's just a side note, a footnote here while you're watching my training. Okay, now I'm moving into lateral raises here, and then I'm going to go into an external rotation movement, which I have done in some of the other videos before to work the rotator cuff muscles, the external rotators. So just so you know, when this exercise changes, it's not because I don't know how to lateral raise, it's because I'm actually changing into a different exercise altogether. Okay, so you know, here's another topic I'd like to talk about today. And this topic is very important. You know, I had a guy that was in the gym the other day, and he was saying, geez, you know, I don't know why I can't get my bench press stronger. What's wrong with me? Why is my bench press always staying the same? So I started watching him. I started watching what he's doing. And I said, okay, so what are you doing in the gym? What's happening when you're coming in here? He goes, well, first I do my warm-up set or two, and then I move up, you know, a pyramid up. And I do, you know, 10, 15, 20 reps or whatever with whatever weight. And he kept on showing me the weights, but the truth is that he was hitting failure on every poundage that as he was moving up. So he was basically fatiguing himself. So by the time he actually got into the heavier weights, he wasn't able to actually push himself as far as from a muscular fatigue point of view. He was actually pushing himself from an energetic point of view. He had no energy left. So I basically told him this. I said, why don't you run around the building 10 times or 15 times and then try to do as heavy weight as you can on the bench press and see what happens, you know? And then the light bulb went on in him. He said, oh, okay, I get it. I'm burning up all my energy, and I'm actually fatigued from an energy point of view, not from a muscular fatigue point of view, not from the muscle fibers not being able to fire hard enough. It's more about I don't have the energy in order to support that. Okay, so that's why his strength gains were never really coming. He was always getting fixated on hitting failure and burning out his energy source first. So like I said earlier in this video, whatever is your weak link is what's going to dictate what your body adapts to, okay? So you have to make sure when you're trying to gain strength, say you have a strength day, okay? You have to make sure that your energy or your fuel doesn't become the weak link. Okay, so basically try starving yourself for 2 weeks and then train, see how strong you are. You won't be strong at all. So the point is not to get high reps and to, you know, burn yourself out. The high reps are only necessary when you gain strength and then you do a high rep day, okay? But when you're trying to gain strength, what you want to do is conserve the energy and then focus on being able to lift heavier poundages, okay? And you focus on the muscle, the pull in the muscle and the nervous system in the muscle being the weak link. You know, so when you strain for only 4 or 5 reps, you can really feel that deep tension in the muscle and that deep soreness, but it's more about a muscular fatigue instead of a burn that prevents you from going further in the set. That is what will get you more strength and size, okay? So you want to focus on that at least 30 or 40% of your workouts. You don't want to be focusing just on reps all the time, because just on reps all the time is going to basically build one type of muscle fiber, and it will help you put on muscle mass, but you will not gain the same type of muscle mass and your strength will not go up. It just will not go up, not as fast anyway. I mean, if you get some muscle gains, you'll get some, but you won't get the same, okay, as a person that concentrates on actually the pull in the muscle and the muscle being absolutely just exhausted. It just cannot push anymore. It's not because of a burn that it stops. It's because it just cannot push anymore. That's the type of fatigue you want to go for if you want to increase muscle mass and strength, okay? So now that I've made that painfully obvious, okay, good. Now, basically you saw that I did that other shoulder exercise where I'm externally rotating, okay, for the rotator cuff muscles, and it's actually helping tighten up the shoulder joints so my bench press feels better and stuff. And this is, you know, the hybrid French curl skull crusher that I'm doing. And then what I'm doing is I'm also extending the set by lowering the dumbbells, touching the front of my shoulder with the dumbbell, and then basically doing a hybrid between, I guess you could say, close grip and French curl, okay? You can call it a push press, you can call it a press of some sort, a tricep press, I guess. Tricep press would be a good name for it. And that actually helps me hit a deeper level of fatigue in the triceps. So I'm doing as many reps as I can with French curl, you know, hitting about, 10, 15, whatever it is. I'm not even counting here, so forgive me if I'm wrong. And then what I'm doing is doing the push press right away so I can get that deeper burn in the tricep. And, sometimes I'll find that because my shoulders sit kind of funny because of the injury, sometimes my right shoulder, my right arm can go further and longer than my left arm. So sometimes I'll just isolate. I'll just push with one arm or the other, whichever one I want to actually really isolate. I'll take turns back and forth so I hit full fatigue in both. So yeah, doing unilateral movements, that's what it's called. Doing one arm at a time is sometimes useful for that, because sometimes there are subtle imbalances and compensations that you're doing based on, how your shoulders are sitting, how your rotator cuff is, and that kind of thing, right? So yeah, give that a try and see how this works for you. And I think you'll actually like this exercise. I've done it in a number of videos recently, and yeah, that sometimes happens with me. I'll pick an exercise and I just like it, and I kind of stick with it for a period of time, and then I'll change around. And yeah, it just so happens that every time I'm filming, I seem to be doing this exercise lately. So it doesn't mean it's the only one I'm doing for triceps, but lately it's my favorite one. Yeah. So thanks a lot for listening, and I hope you get a lot out of this video, and share it if you like it, and take care for now.
Do it your way.
Now you know my name, calling me in a drought. I came to Ridge in 215 and sorted it all out.